I want to share with y'all a revelation that the Lord gave me. But before I share it, I want y'all to stop, pause this video, and go get a pencil and a paper because I want you to write some things down. Now, I want to share this revelation with you because when it came to me, when God gave it to me, it really helped me. And right now, I'm in my waiting season. And in my waiting season, in the waiting season period, there are some times that you come across and you're just like, God, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know, I'm adamant. I'm a big advocate for getting all that you need in your waiting season. One thing that God has made clear is that, look, just because you're in your waiting season doesn't mean that you're here to be lazy. It doesn't mean that you're here to just sit still. No, there's some things for you to get here. Okay, there's some things for you to learn here. And so in the waiting season, in the things that we get in the waiting season, the things that we learn about ourselves and things like that, there's a lot that we learn about God in the waiting season. There's a lot that we learn about him, learn about who he is, his characteristics, attributes, his love, and begin to experience all of that in our faith, be built up, our patience be built up in all of those things. And so that's what one of the things that he's been dealing with me with. And so I was having a conversation one day with my brother and my mother, and I was just talking about, like, Mom, like, a lot of people have surface level relationships with God. They live surface level lives because they have surface level relationship with God. They don't experience the fullness of him. And even we coming into that, there's still some parts that we're still learning, but many people just know God just to be, okay, God, I'm in trouble, get me out of here. And, they know God to be just that. They just know to call on God. They just know to say a quick prayer, but they don't know God to the point where your faith is truly attached and there's intimacy truly attached in relationship. And one of the things I pointed out is that your relationship, your level of faith in your relationship changes with God whenever you come to know him as a provider. Whenever you come to know him as a deliverer, whenever you come to know him as a defender, as a healer, whenever you come to know him as those things, your level of faith changes. Your relationship with him changes. And I can even think about in the Bible, there are people in the Bible who at the time when God would present himself in a certain way, or when he would come through, when he would provide, or he would show up and he would defend, or they would give God a name. And when they gave God a name, it was like it sparked an intimacy. There was like an instant charge of faith and intimacy between them and between God. And so whenever they would acknowledge and call God that name, they would call out to that attribute. They would call out to that part, that characteristic of God, and they would know that they would know without a shadow of a doubt, have a confidence that this is what you are. That I call you this, God, because I know that you are this. And so, but a lot of people do not get to experience that. A lot of people have not experienced that. And that's something that even I have begun, or as I have come back to Christ, been able to understand and to go through and get to know God in different ways. And as I've come into this waiting season, there are different ways that I've already known God, but I've solidified how he is that in my life. But more recently, I'm like, God, I've been kind of struggling because I've kind of moved, and sometimes even in the waiting season, you still go through shifts. Just because you're in one season does not mean that shifts don't happen, doesn't mean that you don't change. And, but as you change and everything, you still go through shifts, you still go through these, it's like many seasons inside of seasons. And so as you begin to change and as your faith begins to build, and you begin to go through these tests and trials, and when you come out of a testing, or a trial, and your patience has gone up, and your endurance has gone up, if you learn something new, you're now entering into a different level. You're now entering into a different thing with God. And so I came into the waiting season knowing, God, okay, you are a provider, okay? Because in the beginning of the waiting season, it was like, God, I don't know how to do this. And I learned him to be a provider. And then I started going through, and he started sanctifying, and then he started dealing with my traumas, and then I'm like, okay, God, I know you to be a deliverer, and I know you to be a father right now. And now I'm moving on to this next place, and I'm like, okay, now God, you're preparing me to get ready to go on and do it, but I'm having these struggles and I'm having this resistance. Okay, now what is it, God? What? And God is like, now you have to know me as a redeemer. And when I had that revelation, it just hit like you know what, God? And what I realized is that when you when you are in these moments, when you have those moments, or when you might have, and you might be focusing. See, the problem is sometimes we be focusing on everything else, focusing on this, God, this not going right, God, this not going. And sometimes we just really need to focus on what God is or what He's doing in our lives at that moment. And sometimes that boils down to who He's trying to be, or who He's trying to get us to see that He is in our lives. And right now, God is trying to get me to see that He's a redeemer. And so, and when I tell you He's been putting the word in my face so much, I mean, it should be across my forehead. The word redeemed should be across my forehead, because He's been hitting me with it so hard. And I'm like, okay, God, okay, I get it. And when I did get it, it's like my perspective changed about everything that I've been dealing with, everything that I've been, like the emotional trials, the testings, the things that I see that I'm trying to overcome. It changed my perspective, and it changed how I realized that I need to lean on God. And that's what we need to get to the point at sometimes, even just to encourage ourselves, or just to give ourselves, and it felt like a renewal. It felt like a renewal of strength when my mind, my perspective shifted, like clarity came and I shifted and realized, okay, God, I'm learning you as a redeemer right now. And so everything that you're trying to work out of me, all of the fear, the guilt, the shame, those things that are trying their best to capture me, but you're trying to work all of that out of me. You're trying to give me the confidence of your spirit. You're trying to give me all this. All of this is because you are trying to show me you as the redeemer, you as the one who has redeemed me already. And I have to open my eyes and see you as that, and the fact that now I can see you as that has given me a whole different confidence. Because God, when I call you now, it's like every time I call you now, every time I think about you now, or every time I get in a situation where this thing starts to bother me a little bit, it's like instantly my mind calls out, God, my Redeemer, help me here. Strengthen my faith here. Strengthen me, or encourage. And so when I call out to that, that's the help I receive. That power and that faith and that intimacy that comes to charge the moment to get me through. And I'm like, and so I want you, even as you listen to this, and I hope that even as you listen to this, as you have so far, that you've been thinking about what God is to you, who or what God is to you already, or in this moment, who it is He's trying to get you to see that He is. If you've been having so much trouble and resistance, trying to you worried about your finances, you worried about it, and God is like, I'm providing for you. And because a lot of times, even when it comes to finances, we the problem is that we so focus on what we don't have. So when our finances are struggling, we focus on the fact that we don't have money. God, I don't have the money to do this. I don't have the money to do this. I don't have the money to do this. But God is like, I have provided, and the food is in your refrigerator. Your bills have not gone unpaid. Your lights are not off. Your car is okay. It's still sitting in your yard. It hasn't been repossessed. And I've been providing for you. Maybe in means that you don't think is supposed to show up, or maybe in means or by the hands of someone else who you're not expecting, but I've been showing up for you this way. And I need you to see me as this, because once you can see me as this, you can shift your focus, you can shift your perspective, and you can shift all the drama, you can shift all of the stresses and things that you have, and you can begin to focus on what I need you to focus on in this time. So I want you to write down, I want you to think about, and I want you to write down what it is in this moment, in this season, that God is to you, or that you're learning God to be to you. And when you write that down, I want you to begin to think on that. Think on it daily. Think on it even when you go up in prayer and worship, that you come before Him and acknowledge that attribute. And that you lean into that. And as you lean into that, let it be able to help you to focus on the right things, to focus on what God is actually trying to do in your life, rather than, because sometimes we will be like, God, you really making me go through, you're really making me go through. But no, what is God trying to get out of you? What is he trying to open your eyes to? What is He trying to get you to become in your relationship, as you desire to go deeper in Him, as you desire for that relationship to become like this with Him? You can't come like this with Him until you completely 100% have given your heart, and you can't 100% give your heart as long as you're resisting Him as a redeemer, as long as you're resisting him as a comforter, long as you're resisting him as a deliverer, as long as you're resisting him as those things, and you can't come into to this. You can't come into that. And so as you're desiring that and you're wanting that, and maybe you feel like it's a blockage, maybe you feel like it's a struggle, maybe you feel like it's something, because for me it was a blockage. For me, I'm like, God, there's a blockage and I can't figure out what it is. It's a blockage and I can't figure out what it is, and I can't figure out and I'm like, I don't know why I'm not giving myself to you. I don't know. I'm trying to give I'm giving all that I know that I have to you, but God is like, no. The problem is that you're still not seeing me as this. You're still not seeing me as have done this for you. You're still not seeing me as have brought you from where you were, and forgiving you for that, and forgiving you for that life that you lived, and let that go, and now moved you into a different place, a new title, a new platform, a new life, a new identity. You still have not, because you still have not shifted to see me as that. You have not shifted to see me as the redeemer who does that. And so I want you guys to think about that. And I pray that it really helps you the way it helped me, because when I tell you that it really opened up a part of me that allowed for God to really just come in, and me to acknowledge this thing even in me, and for God to come in and to begin to, okay, let's tear down these things. Now that you know that you're seeing me as this, and that you're trying to learn me as this, now let's tear down some things, and let me tear down some strongholds and stuff in here, and some lies and all this, and get rid of this stuff, so that you can really be able to fully bask in that, so that you can really call me by that name and know that that's how I show up, so that you can really acknowledge that and know that that's what I am, and that I'm faithful to every name. Faithful to every name that is given unto me, faithful to every attribute, faithful to every characteristic. I cannot change. I do not change. I'm constant, you know. And so when you get to that point and you get to that, then it really makes the difference. So I want you guys to think about that. Begin to think about it. And even if you want to comment down in below what it is that you are learning God to be, or what it is that God, you believe that God is trying to get you to see him as in this season, and lean into that and let him be that. Let God be that to you.